Before I begin this review, I'd like to take a moment of silence for all the fallen CGI horses that perished in this movie. Alright, so one thing I thought was immediately interesting when I walked out of this movie was the fact that it's not necessarily just a battle movie. It's not necessarily just an action movie. There's actually a love story in this movie. And that love story is between Napoleon, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby.
Time you'll see a surprise. Once you see it, you will always want it.
Sorcerer of death construction.
Vanessa Kirby might look familiar to you, and that's because she was in this year's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and she was in Mission Impossible Fallout a couple years back. But I first became familiar with her from watching Season 1 and 2 of The Crown. She played a young Princess Margaret, and she did very well, and ever since then I have been a fan of her. I was glad to see her in this movie. When I saw her name in the credits, I got a little bit more excited to watch the movie. What do I really need to say about Joaquin Phoenix that we don't already know? This man is a powerhouse actor. He is very involved. He gets very into his characters. When he does something, he puts all of his effort into it. He lost 50 pounds to play the Joker in a solo movie a few years ago. He's actually going to be reprising that role in a movie next year with him and Lady Gaga, and the movie's actually going to be a musical, which should be very interesting. But nevertheless, the man puts all his effort into his characters. He brings a menacing quality to Napoleon. He chews every scene he's in. He commands the screen when he's around. The only person in this movie who really stands next to him and competes with his level of caliber is Vanessa Kirby. That's a testament to both actors in this movie. He plays Napoleon like a flawed man. He is smart, he is statistical, he is methodical, but he also is prone to outbursts and fits like a child. And Joaquin Phoenix excels at displaying these kind of emotions. One thing I always find is kind of interesting when I watch these movies that have dictators or tyrants is they always have a more familiar, grounded reasoning for what they're doing. And usually it ties back to love. Love for a person or love for something. And in this movie, it's love for two things. He loves Josephine and he loves France. He's willing to do anything it takes to make sure France is safe. That is his number one goal. It is the driving factor behind everything he does, even when it starts to get ugly. Just goes to show how important love is if you want to be a war genius that wipes everything in your path. I wonder if I could apply this to my life. Ridley Scott knows how to direct action. His battles are visceral, graphic, and exciting to behold. If you saw the trailer for this movie, you saw this scene that's in this movie, and it's a battle scene that takes place on a hill. Napoleon is perched on a hill. He has all his men waiting behind, and the people that are coming towards him, they are on ice. Watching the cannons break through the ice, I kept thinking, oh no, these people are definitely going to be dying. They're going to be drowning. They're going to have a very painful death. And this is brilliant strategy from Napoleon because he knew which position was the best position to be in. They thought they had him at a disadvantage, but really they were playing into his hands. And that is one thing I learned from this movie that Napoleon really excels at. He has a war mind. He is probably a master chess player, I would imagine, because he knows how to maneuver his army in the most effective manner. He knows how to wait for the weather to get better. He knows how to position himself. He knows which weapons are best. He knows how to get into the mind of his enemies. He definitely is a genius. And yes, he was a monster, but you cannot deny that he had some victories under his belt. I am not a history buff. I hate history. I don't care about history. The history class bored me. I knew next to nothing about Napoleon, the real historical figure, before this movie, and this movie actually made me a little bit more compelled to maybe watch a documentary and learn a little bit more about this guy because he was very interesting in this movie. Joaquin Phoenix and Ridley Scott together brought this character into everyone's eyes and made him a little bit more relatable. You understand his motivations. You don't agree with him, but you can understand. This movie quelled any concerns I would have had for Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott knows what to do. He's a fantastic director who's had decades to perfect his craft, and I have no doubt that if he decides that it's time for a sequel to Gladiator, that he's going to make sure that it's the best movie possible. The cinematography in this movie is excellently shot. There are no wasted opportunities here. Every frame is filled with something powerful, moving, beautiful, haunting. It makes you not want to look away. To complement the amazing cinematography is an equally amazing score by Martin Phipps. If you're not familiar with Martin Phipps, he's been composing the past few seasons of The Crown. His scores are beautiful. They're peaceful. I listen to them quite a bit. If you really want to hear one of his best tracks, I would listen to Voices. It is from season 4 or 5 of The Crown, and it is so peaceful. I can't get enough of it. You really can't go wrong with a Ridley Scott movie. His battles are legendary. He knows how to direct a big action scene. Joaquin Phoenix is a giant in the industry of Hollywood. He's always been a very interesting character. I'm super excited to see him again in Joker next year. So this movie, I highly recommend. I think this movie is definitely an 8 out of 10, something everybody should be watching. So those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Did you see this movie yet? What did you think of it? If this review was interesting to you and you would like to see more, please hit like and subscribe to my videos. I'm going to keep pushing out content, but I definitely need more support to keep this channel growing bigger. Later.